Hello, everybody, and welcome to Oz After Dark. I have a very special guest for a very special episode today. So I'm going to go ahead and roll out the red carpet for everybody's favorite under the desk, bright side of the news, V-Sphere.
What's going on, Oz? Good to be here with you on this Christmas Eve morning.
Wow.
I know.
Like there isn't other things that we should be doing.
There's nowhere else I'd rather be at 9 a.m. on Christmas Eve than with you.
You know, the feeling's mutual.
See,
Very
we
much.
do this thing in my family because let's start off dark. After my brother passed away a number of years ago, my mom didn't want to do Christmas on Christmas Day anymore because obviously she was like, it's a double hurt. It doesn't feel good. So we started doing Christmas early.
Mhm.
So we just finished Christmas. So I'm actually done. It's
You're like,
Christmas
I've already
Eve.
Christmased out.
I've Christmased it up. My 3-year-old niece came to my house. My parents were here. We had a blast. It's super fun. 10 out of 10 recommend doing holidays not on the holiday.
Yeah,
Santa
I could
Claus
see that.
came. It was great.
Yeah.
And now, I could just sit back and watch my holiday movies and enjoy myself.
And, I'm going to do Christmas morning with my family and then jump on a plane and go to Philly until Monday. So, bye.
Bye.
So yeah, we were actually sitting here talking before we were getting started about dealing with your family for the holiday. So, just remember boundaries are awesome. And just because people are family doesn't mean that they're entitled to your emotional bandwidth.
It's like when you're a kid and your older cousin that you want to be friends with so bad says to you, we're not real friends, we're just family friends. That's how you can be as an adult, man. You could be like, we're not real friends, you're just my blood relatives, okay?
Yeah.
Relax, have yourself a merry little Christmas, go get some spiked eggnog and leave me alone.
Get schmammered. Go for that walk with your cousins.
The walk with the cousins is good. That's a
Go for your
classic.
walk.
See, it snowed so much here that me and my dad were like, oh, we have to go shovel again. Oh, we've got to go shovel again. My mom's like, that walkway is pristine, fellas. It's fine.
You could eat
You're
off
fine.
that shit.
Yeah. No, he doesn't eat. My dad smokes cigarettes, which I know I shouldn't think is cool, but he does look really cool when he does it. He's like this cool older man who smokes cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember being a kid and him playing like baseball with us and having like a dart hanging out his mouth and like throwing the ball. And he's just
the
cool
80s,
as hell.
like in the 90s. My childhood consisted of my dad having a pack of cigarettes rolled in his shirt. Yeah. And then in 99, so I'm so proud of my dad. So he got hurt at work and he broke his hip. So he had to be in the hospital for like a month almost between all the therapy and whatnot. So he told the doctor, he's like, I smoke 2 packs a day. So unless you give me the patch, he quit smoking then and hasn't smoked since. But now this motherfucker has picked up cigars and he thinks that that's not smoking.
No, it's totally different, obviously. No, my dad was a pocket t-shirt dad. I think you have 2 types of dads,
he had
right?
a lot of those.
You got rolled in the sleeve dad or pocket t-shirt dad. Mine. And what kind of cigarettes did your dad smoke?
Oh God, I want to say like Marbreds.
Yeah,
like
my dad was Doral.
Oh God,
he was a menthol fella.
My grandmother was a lucky strike kind of girl.
See, I love that for her. My grandma smoked Salem's.
My sister was the what was it? The Newport menthols.
Oh, those were hot. Those were like 80s. Those were cool guy cigarettes. Yeah. So Pops is out there, smoking cigarettes and like just he doesn't. My family's like a gossipy, fun family, and like we'll talk shit right to your face. So I mean, I think that's part of the fun of being in my family.
A Connecticut thing.
It is, because it's just like, we got to get this out of the way. You know what I mean? Let's just run it down.
Yeah.
But my dad, he'll just sort of giggle at everything unless you're outside with him. And then for some reason, there are 2 places my father is his most honest. Outside smoking a cigarette on the deck and in his Jeep. You get in the Jeep with my dad and you're getting lore on the family. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's his spot to talk. So we had our holiday. We had all the fun. And now I'm glad to just kind of like, I don't know, have a couple days off, except I thought I was going to be able to be off until like January 3rd. We were really going to try to push it, but now, because of the TikTok lawsuit and everything, I'm back December 27th to meet with the TikTok lawyers about the arguments that they're submitting to try and keep this TikTok ban away.
And this is exactly why when everybody
This is
started
why we're
asking me about the
here.
TikTok ban, I was like, "You know what? Actually, let's get the one person that knows literally everything."
I got you. I got you. So, um, here's the good news up front. It has not in any way been said directly to me, but I'm a person who is great at context clues and reading between the lines, hearing the harmonies. I think they may have gotten to Trump, be that with flattery or money or something. Because when we talk about the TikTok ban, we are still talking about the arguments, and now we've got the Supreme Court to hear it on emergency. I've never seen a court move so quickly in my life.
Well, yeah, it's
Um,
imagine how quick they can move when they actually want to.
and that's the thing is that move of the SCOTUS taking this came after Shochu met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And I look again, right now I'm shit talking and speculating, and then I will tell you when we move into facts. But my vibe right now, my feeling right now is that meeting with Shochu and Trump was probably very flattering, probably went fairly well. I have noticed an uptick of conservative content on TikTok, certainly that wasn't really there before. So I think they're being able to prove that there's a balance and whatnot. And it does seem like even if the ban were to go into effect on the 19th, Trump could the very next day direct his Department of Justice to not enforce it, which could kind of unban it. But that's the weakest way that we get away from a TikTok ban. The best way is that the Supreme Court takes this and decides the law that Congress passed is something called a bill of attainder, which is an illegal piece of legislation. Congress can't pass a bill that punishes a person or a company before they have a trial. And TikTok, the allegation is that TikTok is a threat to national security, but they've never proven that TikTok is a threat to national security. They just have all these hypotheticals, which is, it doesn't meet what's called the burden of strict scrutiny. So even if they were to want to punish TikTok, strict scrutiny says you have to punish them in the least invasive way possible, and a ban is obviously the most extreme way possible. So the court could say, hey, this is a bill of attainder. Congress is punishing them without a trial, and also it doesn't meet this thing called strict scrutiny. So you got to take that law back. Congress would have to rework it, and maybe they have to say something like TikTok needs to build a firewall between China and the United States. Well, they've already done that. So then it would have met the burden of, uh, not being a threat to national security and allow us to keep it. So that's kind of like the in the weedsy part of it. And then my shit talking part of it is I think they just maybe paid Trump off to be able to keep it. Elon Musk has got some alleged work going on with the CCP and wanting to move his AI over to China. So, President Musk will certainly weigh in on this as well.
And I just love how, like, you can see how much it's getting under Trump's skin. All the memes.
He's starting to freak.
He's starting to fucking crack a little
He's
bit.
starting to freak.
Very loosely put together these days, as it is. I don't know what's going on with the hair now. It's just not.
The hair is a big change.
The pants got higher too.
The pants got higher. He hasn't been around as much. Like, I feel like I used to see him around more.
Way much.
He was at the Turning Point event this past weekend. He was doing whatever, but he definitely seems out of the loop more than he normally is. Like, whoever is in charge of him is like, okay, cool. We've gotten what we need from this. And now we've transitioned to maybe cutting him out of the big boy conversations in some ways. Elon Musk said, all I'll have to do once Trump is president is sit him in front of Fox News in the Oval Office, and I won't have to worry about him ever again.
Yeah.
And as long as we keep a steady diet of "you're doing amazing, sweetie," going for him, he doesn't care. He's not smart enough to understand that, and then they'd be able to run circles around him.
Well, not only that, but it seems like the cheese is starting to really slide off the bread.
Yeah.
It was kind of there before, but everybody complained about Joe Biden and, oh, he's not the sharp. Okay, well, when you put them side by side, Trump's worse at this point.
Joe Biden, I just saw him in the Oval Office. I had time with him for the last time this last week, and he is very old, but I would not say he's not sharp.
No, you can
he's
tell.
slower.
Yeah.
He's slower, but he he knows what the
Mentally.
fuck's going
Oh,
on. It
yeah.
just is taking him a little bit longer to get his words out, but he knows what's going on, and he also knows what he's not gonna do, and the people around him have continued deep and sincere respect for him.
Yeah.
You don't see that with Trump. You see a
Mm-mm.
lot of placating, a lot of like, okay,
No, it's all
whatever.
games because
Yeah.
he's like it's like dealing with a toddler. You
Right.
know,
Right.
it's like kid gloves, but
Yep.
also, as somebody who took care of a parent that had dementia, there are a good deal of mannerisms that mirror those types of behaviors in there too,
I agree. And
for sure.
like you said, they were all on Joe Biden about whatever. Joe Biden aged, but he is not in cognitive decline. He is sharp. And I would tell you, I'd be like, oh, yeah, it was a little bit off. He looks very old and he's slower
Mhm.
than he was, but he's not less agile, if that makes sense, like mentally. Like
Yeah.
he's all there. He's just a little bit quieter and a
Mhm.
little bit slower with his words, but he knows what he's doing.
He's a good
That's why I
little
think
Uncle
the
Joe.
debate was sort of unfair because you can't get Biden all rizzed up right now and nervous, right? But if he's just one on one or if he's in an actual serious meeting with other leaders, he's steady and he knows what
Yeah.
he's doing. But he's not going to be on stage, right? He's not going to perform
Yeah.
like an actor, like the way
Mhm.
that Trump performs because he doesn't care what he's saying.
That's all he's ever been as an actor, though.
Right?
I mean, that's all he's ever
Well,
had.
we'll see what's going to go on. I do you think he's going to move to the? I just don't see him moving to the White House. I see him staying at Mar-a-Lago somehow, and like he's already last time spent most of the time at Mar-a-Lago. I think
This
they
is very
just
true.
fortify Mar-a-Lago and keep him down
I
there.
don't know, that is I didn't even think about that, like, I've been so just distraught in
I
general that,
know.
like, that wasn't even like, I didn't even get there. I don't even wanna think about him in the White House yet. I guess that must have been it.
I just don't think it's going to happen. I know Melania's not moving to the White
No,
House
she's staying
because
in New
she's
York
staying
because she
at
has
Trump
to
Tower with
continue breastfeeding Barron at
she does
college.
with Barron. Oh my gosh, the lore about Barron and the stories the media
Oh,
is
all the
making up
John
about
Barron
Barron.
stories?
They're trying to make him like this stud muffin, slick talking womanizer Kennedy, and I'm like, he's not. Barron is a sweet boy. I got no problem with Barron Trump. I wish that boy the best. He's got a
Good luck
rough
to him.
legacy to endure. I wish that boy the best, but he and Melania are very separate from
The rest
the
of yeah,
swirl. They
yeah,
were even when they were in the White House, they were very separate from the swirl. He is not some womanizer, whatever. He's like pretty quiet and I think fairly smart.
yeah.
But I could see him moving back to Slovenia with his mother if anything ever went down with Trump or if
I
Trump,
mean,
eventually
honestly,
passes away or whatever.
that's
I don't see
probably
why he
what
would
they're look
stay
that's like
here.
the light
Yeah.
at the end of the tunnel for them,
I
probably.
know. She would move back, marry the king of Slovenia, and they could live a happy
They'd
life.
just import her right to Russia. Putin would be like,
They'd
"Come
be
home,
like,
baby.
zip. Yeah.
Come on back. Your loaner is over.
I
You
know.
can
Oh,
return."
gosh. She's a good
So,
mother. I mean, if we have to
yeah,
say good things about people all the time, she is a very
that is
good mother.
that is, that is very, very telling. I mean, even in that clip that was going around on TikTok not too long ago, and everybody was like
Suitcase.
exactly. Everybody was like, "He has an accent." I'm like, "Yeah, because the only person that was tending to him
It was her.
had the
Mhm.
accent."
One of my friends was worked in her office during the first administration, and she said, like, Melania is not for all this political stuff. She's not. It's you can't judge somebody's patriotism, but she's not like an inherently super patriotic American person. Like she's not really
She's just
from
there.
here. She's just she's fine with it. But she was like the way that she cares for Barron is like truly remarkable. So good for her.
Yeah, I mean,
She's still married to an awful, terrible person and sticks around. Oh, she got to do the second term, she got some sum of money. She got something for
oh,
sticking
yeah.
around.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. There has to be a payoff. There
Yeah.
has to be. I mean, but then again, she's not
Sex
really
work is honest work, Oz. We don't judge other women for what they do with their body.
I mean, but if we're being honest here,
Uh,
I mean,
I
what
don't know
more
if he's had sex with her in a long time. I
oh,
don't know.
god, no. She's like, "Don't fucking touch me."
No, I
You can
heard
tell just
that
by
she
the
was
way he
having
tries to hold her hand. She's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Get the
There
fuck
was a
away from
rumor
me."
she was having an affair with the security guard at the Tiffany's on the
Tiffany's.
floor. Yeah, the
Yeah.
ground level of Trump
She's
Tower.
back she's happy to be back in Trump Tower.
She loves those Marine guards, those are
Mhm.
hotties. We love that, but,
Exactly.
good for her, whatever with her. Whatever with
Well,
her. You know who I won't give a break to in the Trump family and people are like, the Tiffany. People are like, I feel bad for Tiffany Trump. I'm like,
No.
I don't. She
No.
so plays the game. She married that
Mhm.
fake billionaire Mossad or whatever his name
And I
is.
love it how people still think that Kimberly and Don Jr. are together.
No,
They're
they haven't
not.
been.
They
No,
haven't been for a while. Stop pretending like
no.
they're still that's why she's going to Greece.
She's going to Greece. She's got that Mar-a-Lago face, and it's no longer in style. Do you see the fresh? First of all, him cheating with a younger woman or moving on with a younger woman or whatever the case may be is bad enough. But for him to be with Bettina, whatever her name is, and for her to have like no plastic surgery and be like the most fresh face, natural looking girl
Going
coming
from
off what he
big
did to
mouth
Kimberly's
ass.
face is like the most egregious part of the whole thing.
Could you imagine? Did you and you saw her she was pretty originally when she
Oh,
was
she
married to
was.
Gavin Newsom.
See, when you're
Very
going
pretty.
red will rot you from the inside.
Hate, man. Does a
I
body
know.
bad,
Bad. Yeah.
bad.
Even
Marjorie
Laura
Taylor
Trump, you
Greene.
look at her. Ooh,
Oof.
ooh, did not age well.
Rough,
They're
rough.
not
She
giving
thought
her
she was
any
gonna
love
get a
either.
Senate
She was
seat.
like, I'm gonna be the senator. No, you're not.
No, they're not gonna give a woman any position of power these days. Haven't
They're
you learned
done
that
with the Trumps. They are done
lesson?
with the Trumps. They got
Mm-mm.
what they needed.
Mhm.
They're done. It's why you don't see Ivanka around. She's the only one with any brains.
Mhm.
Because she was like, y'all are gonna go to jail. The gig
Yep.
is up. The gig is up.
Mhm. But it doesn't matter now because he's president and king and
Well, she's still not messing with him. I
no,
mean,
she's not. She's
Ivanka
like,
and
"I'm
Jared
not
are like,
mm-mm."
I'm
They were
good.
like, "We're just trying to get our status back so that
Yeah,
nobody hates us." I just got Kimberly Kardashian as a friend again.
yeah, right?
I can't ruin that.
Oh my God, Kimmy and her Cybertruck and her Trumpism. I'm like, Kim, she is in a family with Caitlyn Jenner, though. So there's something rotten there, you know?
Goes hand in hand with Yee.
I know. It's very icky because I like, on paper, love the idea of Kris Kardashian.
Oh, she's
I
badass.
love the idea of her, but
Yeah.
she's probably terrible too.
Oh,
But,
yeah, I'm sure.
but I
I'm
just
sure.
love the idea of her.
You know, honestly, if I'm being honest, I like Courtney because I
Courtney's
think that
cool.
she's the coolest, most down to earth one, and, like, I love her and Travis, so, you know, whatever.
It's
I love
something
that
to
they had, like, a
watch, you know
little
what I mean?
baby and
I'm
whatnot,
like,
like,
I
I saw
love
your
what you're
love
giving
story,
us. I
right?
don't know you, but I love what you're giving us. I love what
Exactly,
you're
I'll
giving
take
us.
it.
Yeah. We got to see. It's going to be a weird 4 years. We got a
Yeah.
lot to prepare for. As far as the TikTok ban goes, I know that the arguments on the 27th, I will have stuff on my channel that night because I will have the arguments from TikTok's lawyers and advocacy team that they're submitting. They're working with some of the best, most high-powered lawyers in the world. There's nothing. People keep asking me, what can I do as a TikToker? And I'm like, you've been doing it. The last 4 years, we showed up, we protested, we called Congress, we shut down Mark Warner's Restrict Act, we went to the hearings, we did everything. At this point, it's so far above what the average person can access because it's Supreme Court money and lawyers, right?
Mhm.
So the only thing we could do is keep making content, telling people where to find us on our other platforms because we should all be making diversified content. What I do on YouTube is very different than what I do on TikTok, different than what I write in the Substack. And that's just part of being a full-time content creator. But we keep doing our thing and we trust that capitalism will win out.
I mean, honestly, I mean, just look at the amount of revenue that is generated off of
Yep.
TikTok. It is a $1 billion business for,
24 billion.
yeah. I mean, it's astonishing. I mean, just between content creators and
Mhm.
small businesses that depend on it to connect, use the TikTok store, things
Mhm.
like that. Um, you know, this is a platform that we've curated for the past handful of years,
Mhm.
and, you know, honestly, it worries me for the younger generation only because, like, you take this away, these kids are gonna while out. Like,
Well, yeah.
you
There's a little
can't
bit of complacency that TikTok offers you, right?
yeah.
And a calm public is an easily controlled public in some ways, but there was somebody who talks about the lack of third spaces and the fact that when we were kids, our parents used to be like, go outside and play or drop us
Mhm.
off at the mall or go to the movies by ourselves and get picked up. Kids don't do that anymore. Now they're kind of in their rooms on social media. Their third place to meet, their place to be with their friends is TikTok, is Snapchat, is whatever. And if you take that away, you know, it's like
Gonna
taking away the after school art program or something.
yeah,
They're
it's
gonna
gonna
join a gang. There's gonna be bad stuff.
they're gonna
The thing that pisses me off about the Congress people is been in Congress for the last 3 years. I met with so many different people trying to explain to them what TikTok is, and their allegiances are not to the American public, and they are bad listeners, a lot of them. And I'm telling you, TikTok taking out Mark Warner's Restrict Act is why the Democrats went so hard for this, because they really saw the way that the people could destroy legislation that gives them more power. Mark Warner's Restrict Act was the Patriot Act 2.0. I was the person to coin that. I was the person to put forth all of the, here are the parallels between these. The Telecommunications Act, the Patriot Act had expired. He was looking for a new way to renew surveillance on Americans. He thinks he's a big telecom guy. Maybe in the 90s he was, not anymore. And his idea was, well, we're going to ban this TikTok thing, not because, and this is in the arguments that TikTok's putting forward, not because it's a national security threat, but because we are deciding that the dissent of the public and our inability to control narrative is a national security threat. Well, you can't police people's opinions online like that. You can't say, and they did say this, the fact that most of TikTok was very pro-Palestine when we want them to be pro-Israel cannot be a reason that you ban the app. The fact that you are trying to say transgender people shouldn't exist and trans people are online telling their story and the public is not accepting the fact that the narrative from upper Republican, circles is like, oh, these people don't exist. That became something they were like, oh, it's a national security risk. None of that is a national security risk. It is a risk to congressional power and to their ability to create and craft narrative. It is a risk to media because they don't look at legacy media like MSNBC or whoever saying, oh, wow, we're losing audience share because maybe we've gotten a little lazy. Maybe people don't want pundits all the time. Maybe they don't want 24-hour news. Maybe they want to hear from diversified voices instead of the same people all the time. Instead, they're like, nope. These TikTokers, these goddamn news and politic TikTokers learned how to read the bills. And now they don't need us anymore. They're not listening to us, or what we're saying isn't tracking with what they're reading.
Well, not only
so
that,
they wanted it gone.
And that's like, I had a YouTube video go viral a couple weeks ago. I launched into a rant about Morning Joe. I used to tune into Morning Joe all the fucking time. All the time. That was my morning routine. I'd get up, get some coffee, turn on the fucking pundits, listen for a little while, enjoy the guests. And then these motherfuckers went into Mar-a-Lago and kissed the ring after you have been telling us for the last 4 years how bad this is. Fascism, this, that, and the other thing. And then to look us straight in our fucking face and pretend like we're stupid somehow. And we're just going to give you a pass on that? No. No. Not only that, but the viewership that we have on our platforms, some cases surpasses by far what they're bringing. And they're threatened by people like you with decent platforms that will fucking put their numbers to shit. They want to be the person, and they aren't anymore. Legacy media is dead.
And the problem is we actually need each other, which is what I've said from the beginning. Like, Rachel Maddow, right, is on once a week on Monday nights, and I think she does a great show. But that's just 2 hours of your day. That's not enough. Then you have second screens. The problem is the people who are making TV and legacy media they're so far separated from the average person's experience anymore that they don't get it. I watch TV and I'm on my phone at the same time. You have 2 screens going. So technically you could be reinforcing what you're seeing on your main screen on your second screen if you were doing it properly. But instead of, I think Jen Psaki does this well because she has her show and then she's doing really well on TikTok, and she is a really authentic, I think, good person. But you have to do this both, and it's not competition. It's one reinforces the other. I don't have the money to put boots on the ground in Ukraine. I do need the Washington Post to do that. And then I need to read that reporting, see those pictures, make interpretations, and then bring it to the audience in the way that I do. But they're like, well, no, you're just using our pictures. And it's like, yeah, man, because nobody's looking at your pictures. The way you're telling the story,
nobody cares.
It isn't working. Nobody's going to watch. Nobody's working. You talk down to the audience.
Yeah. It's the older generation that has been raised on that talk news.
and who can afford cable.
Yeah.
Which is the other thing. We were like, I remember when streaming came out, I was like, this is great because cable got so expensive. It was like $200 for TV or something at one point. And I was like, all right, well, I can't afford that. So I'll get a Fire Stick and I'll get the internet. And it was like, okay, now I'm down to $60, right? For the internet and the Fire Stick. And now I want to say we pay $200-300 in streaming because they creep up on you. You're like, oh, well, I want to watch a show on Paramount. Oh, well, I want to watch a show on that. And then all of a sudden I look at the bill at the end of the month. I'm like, cancel it all. Get rid of Hulu. Get rid of it. When did we get the Law and Crime channel on YouTube? And Natalie's like, oh, you wanted to watch that one thing and you forgot. So this is the problem is my grandma used to say skirts can only get so short before the maxi dress is back in. And that world has gotten so isolated that they are not in touch with the average person's experience.
No.
And they're always trying to nickel and dime us a little bit, right? Like that automatic renewals or just YouTube's even for TV, making it like $20 more expensive or something this year. Like that kind of stuff really hurts and it cuts people out.
Yeah.
And then you have folks like us who are like, you know, for a long time, I did content for free. Now I've been able to monetize it, but like I still have to work. And so, you know, that peer-led journalism, local journalism, talking to people, building community and coalitions is where we're at because we gave you the time and attention and our money and you kind of like built yourself $1 million house with it. And we're like, get fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not working.
And I think that in general, people are over the super ultra rich at this point. I think that we're moving into our French Revolutionary period. And I think that the tolerance for these billionaires like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and, you know, all these people who want to tell Americans to go without while literally being so disgustingly rich that you could solve like world hunger, but you don't.
Jeff Bezos, the folks at Amazon are on strike, right? And they're not even asking for crazy stuff. Chris Smalls, who started the first Amazon union, is a wonderful person and a realistic leader and a realistic coalition builder. He's an incredible person. They're not asking for crazy stuff. They're asking for bathroom breaks, enough money to not need 2 jobs, and like a transportation stipend, which most jobs give you, especially in the city, because it's like, all right, we'll pay for your Metro card. You know, what's that on the company? They write it off as a business expense and you can get here and that really, really helps you. They're just asking for little normal stuff, quality of life, basic decency stuff. And Bezos is turning the hoses on them. Right. It's free. New York was the coldest place in the world or in the country last week. And that's when they were on strike. He's turning on the hoses, trying to ice them out, water going everywhere while these people are trying to strike and do whatever. Meanwhile, next week, he's doing a $600 million wedding.
Fucking trash bag.
That kind of stuff.
Gross.
That kind of stuff is why
Eat the rich.
People are cheering for Luigi right now, which also the legacy media cannot understand why people are cheering for Luigi. And I'm like, they're not cheering for the murder. They're cheering for what it represents.
Yeah.
They're cheering for somebody who went to the source of that person's problems instead of shooting up a school.
Yeah.
Or blaming Black people or trans people or women. That is what they're cheering for because we have not seen that exemplified in such simple terms. And I don't think that Luigi inspires people to go murder CEOs, and you shouldn't do that. That's bad. But it does inspire people to say,
have a conversation about why.
I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Why is he doing this?
Why?
And why is health insurance, which should be for catastrophic events, now telling me if I could do a preventative physical?
Yeah.
Or get a lab panel.
Yeah.
Or God forbid I go to the doctor that's in network and that fucker sends my lab work to a lab that's not in network because he doesn't know. Now I get a $12,000 bill.
Exactly. Like Andrew's post the other day.
Yep.
You know,
so they're sick of it.
And we're the only fucking industrialized nation that hasn't fucking figured it out because we're more concerned with padding the billionaires' pockets of this insurance industry than actually providing health care.
There is plenty of money to go around here. It's just not going around is the problem.
No.
If the money were circulating, right, the way that it should be, instead of just getting siphoned off at the top to people like Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, lots of Congress, these billionaires, these tech people, these CEOs, even the nonprofit CEOs making tons of crazy millions of dollars. If it wasn't just sitting up there, it would be circulating down here. We'd have a much more higher quality of life and a much more calm and complacent public if that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. And then the thing that pisses me off about that, even, you got all this fucking money. You don't even do anything with it.
No.
Nancy Pelosi's got all this fucking money, and you don't like you. What are you doing with it? You're continuing to reinforce gerontocracies, tamp down any kind of progress in your party, because God forbid they figure out the egregious things that you did while you were in power. And you got all this money, and you use it to get armed security and fences for your houses instead of enjoy it. Just let us have a little. If you're not going to use it, is all I'm saying. You're not going to be able to use it.
No.
Just give us a little bit.
Give
us a little bit. I want to like be able to pay for my kid to play soccer without worrying about it, you know?
Right? Like this is literally the past 40 years has been proof that trickle down economics and Reagan's GOP's fucking fiscal policies literally have created what we're seeing, have created these disgusting billionaires. There's no reason for there to be billionaires, period.
And they say, oh, we can't put it back in the bottle. We absolutely can, because it wasn't until the 70s, till like Nixon, I think it was, there used to be a cap on CEO salary, and it was pretty good. It said CEO could only be 300 times the lowest paid employee. That's still 300. If you as the owner of the business have 300 times the wealth of your average employee, you are still significantly separated in terms of class, right? Why has it got to be 300 million times more?
Well, just
that's
look at the
stupid.
corporate
That doesn't
tax
make
rates
sense.
when America was industrialized.
80%.
People would literally die if they knew what corporations were paying. And the fact that they're paying as little as they are now, when 60 years ago they were paying significantly more, is exactly what you need to know about what has caused all of this.
And that's why it can be fixed. And I do have hope in folks like the Working Families Party, which is, they caucus with the Democrats and they're not independent. Working Families Party is based here in New York, but they are in 28 states. And people like Maxwell Frost are in it. AOC is in it. Kazar from Texas is in it. Jasmine Crockett, Summer Lee, all those folks that you love are in it. And it's because they're working realistically for a better blue side. I wouldn't even call it Democratic because it's not neoliberal, but it's not so crazy that it's like Bernie just spouting off stuff that's never going to happen, right? Like, God love him, but like,
we love Bernie,
also retire. You're also in your 80s. Like, let's go.
If anybody, like,
let's relax.
If you can fall and break your hip, like, it's time to retire. And the fact that Pelosi was in a fucking hospital bed getting a new hip, whipping vote
surgery
against AOC, fuck you, you old cunt.
Exactly. Like Hunter Biden said to me at the holiday party just 2 weeks ago, fuck Nancy Pelosi. I was like, you right on, brother.
Right.
Also, meeting Hunter Biden was the highlight of my life. I cannot tell you. I know.
I was so jealous. I looked at the picture and I was like.
So he watches a couple TikTokers, me, Alex Perlman, and Aaron Parnas, oddly enough. And so I was at the Hanukkah party the night before, and he came downstairs just at the end. It looked like he was leaving the residence. And I like caught eyes with him because I was staring at him. And he came over and he was like, I'm Hunter Biden. And I was like, I know. And then that was our interaction. But then I was at the Christmas party the next night because I went with Sammy and Sammy went with me. And I saw him and he comes across, and this is how charming this motherfucker is. He's like, hey, good to see you again. What's going on? What do you think? Who had better food, Hanukkah or Christmas? Like,
immediately.
And I'm like, Hunter, what's happening? And he's like, nothing. You look good. Da-da-da. Hey, I was watching your thing earlier. I
would have died right there. I would have been
I blacked
deceased.
out. It was like in the movies where like a sound started in my ear and I blacked out. And I was like, okay. And he's like, did AOC end up getting that seat on the oversight committee? And I said, no, Nancy blocked her and, Jerry O'Connell. And he does not miss a beat. He looks at me and goes, fuck Nancy Pelosi. I was like, yeah. Yes. So now I decide that I'm going to rizz him up. And I'm like, yeah. And she was terrible to your dad. Oh, she was awful. She was awful to Joe. And he's like, she was. She's the worst. She was the worst. She needs to, she's done some good things, but like, she needs to quit. This is crazy. We need younger people.
She needed to go like 10 years ago.
This is the death of the Democratic Party. I can't believe, isn't she having surgery? I was like, yeah. He's like, she's probably on a lot of pills. Should she be making calls and decisions for Congress while she's on drugs? And I was like, no, Hunter, isn't that like the problem? And he's like, that's what I thought. And so he's like going, I'm like, Hunter, you going to run for office? And he's like, they would fucking love that. Oh, they would love that.
Oh, yeah.
They love that. He's like, no, they've had enough of me.
They would eat that up. I don't blame him, though. Good for him for making that rational choice, because the petty bitch in me would have been like, don't believe me, just watch.
I know. I was like, Hunter, you're so handsome. What are you going to do with yourself? And he was like, I don't know. He's like, I just want to spend some time with my dad. You know, I was like, your dad's, done such great things. I'm so grateful to him for everything that he's given me and the legitimacy that this office has given me. Thank you. And he's like, yeah. Fuck Nancy Pelosi, huh? I was like, yeah, man. And then he turned around. That was our whole interaction. But I will live on this for the rest of my life.
That's amazing.
Anyway, I don't know what we were talking about before that, because now it's Hunter Biden time.
Fucking Nancy Pelosi.
I'm going to tell you, I know why women run away with him, because I was like,
you're like,
he has the most beautiful, sincere, sad eyes. He's got the beautiful smile. He's got like a very gentle but firm handshake. He's perfect senator's son. I absolutely, if I were in my 20s in New York City and in my hoe phase, you run away with Hunter Biden. That's the dream.
Right? That's what you do. So that's just, oh my God, it's so wild. Last night, I went on Threads, and I was on Blue Sky too, and I said something. I was like, oh man, this Matt Gaetz report sure seems like Matt Gaetz was doing a lot of drugs. I wonder if he disclosed all those drugs on his federal firearms applications, because that motherfucker has bought a gun since 2016.
Oh, totally.
So
he's in Florida.
And additionally, I signed
asking for Hunter
Biden. That I was just cruising home in the car, and I was like, that one came to me, and I was like, I just gotta.
That was my favorite thread of last night. And Sammy said what they're doing to Blake Lively with the misinformation, she's the bitch campaign, is exactly what they did to Kamala Harris and trying to paint her as like a far leftist. And I'm like, see, this is why we need social media, because the girlies get it. They get it.
Yep.
But
well,
yeah, man, it's a weird time.
In conclusion, what do you think is going to happen with the TikTok ban? What do you think we're going to be seeing?
I think that, okay, I in all the years that they said they were going to ban it, I've been like, no, they're not. They're not. And then two or 3 weeks ago, I was like, they are, because my even like inside chatter at TikTok was like surprised that the appeal didn't go through, because we have like a deal, you know what I mean? There's like supposed to be a process that things happen through. So Congress passed the thing. They were like, oh, appeal it. And then the appeal didn't work. So the fact that they got SCOTUS on board so quickly means some money's moving somewhere. And Trump saying that he has a special place in his heart for TikTok because it delivered him the election, which let's let him think that. Don't anybody correct that, okay? TikTok didn't go 60% for Kamala Harris. Don't let him think that, okay? It did, but don't let him think that. So I think that the Hail Mary is that SCOTUS kicks it back, and that gives us time, and maybe this Congress doesn't pick it back up because they realize that they went too far. Josh Hawley told Meghan McCain, who told me, that the bill is written so well that it's one of the only bills that they've written so well, and so many of them wish it wasn't written so well. So I think if we get through this SCOTUS thing and it gets kicked back to Congress, we're not going to see it come back up. I think it's going to kind of like
fade away,
sail off in the sunset, and we'll be okay and move on, at least for this time. If SCOTUS says that it is constitutional to uphold this, which 50-50 shot, guys. That's where we're at, genuinely.
Yeah, it's up in the air.
Then the ban will go into effect on the 19th, and I do believe on the 20th or 21st, Trump could direct the Department of Justice to not enforce it, which would be unprecedented also for the president to tell the Department of Justice to not enforce a law that Congress passed and the Senate passed and was signed into law. So that would be kind of crazy, but he's going to do a bunch of crazy shit.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking down the barrel at crazy, so.
There is also a rumor, credible rumor, whatever, that he doesn't really want TikTok on for the first 100 days because that's when he's doing all his executive orders. And if he, TikTok is sort of an accountability platform for him, even though he thinks it's so flattering. So would it be off during that first 30 days, for 60 days or something when he's doing all this wacko shit? We don't know. That's something I've heard out there. I've also heard that TikTok will not sell, period. So people could get rid of this idea of the American
They're not
buyer.
gonna sell that algorithm
Never,
ever.
never, never.
Never.
But they might fake the funk a little bit. And this seems to be like one of the contingency plans, that there's an American buyer who I am speculating is Jeffrey Yes, who already owns 60% of the global shares. I don't think they're going to sell any more than that. And a Japanese liaison that will spin off just enough of it, which is the data housing and the American headquarters, which are already based in here, spin that off as TikTok, and ByteDance keeps the algorithm, and allow China's more comfortable if Japan is involved and us, as opposed to directly just us. And maybe that's the way that they'll do it. And Congress will say, okay, that satisfies the sale, but it's a little fake the funk.
Mhm.
So right now, genuinely, we're just in the swim of it. I feel good about how many different avenues there are to keep the app, but I also feel nervous because I said they'd never overturn Roe v. Wade, and they did. So, I learned from then, never say never.
Yeah, no, I think that the last 2 years has really been a reality check for, most of our generation that grew up with these type of privileges as just something that was there, and now we're kind of in the chaos. And and then they were fucking making us read 1984 and shit in school, and then they're trying to do the same ass shit to us. Bitch,
now they're trying to ban it.
A book report on this shit. Now you can't have it in a library?
You guys made me silent, sustained read all of this stuff that made me a compassionate and thoughtful person, and now you're trying to ban those books. They're like, no, you can't have this anymore. There are some things that I want to prepare your audience for, just that we know are coming. And here's the thing, like when you are in an abusive or toxic or unstable environment, you have to believe that the worst possible thing can come true, because it's those lies you tell to yourself that he won't hit you again that get you hit again. Mm-hmm. So this Trump 2.0, it is going to be very difficult. I'm not scaring you. We're going to prepare you for it. This is prepared, not scared. There are things that we know are going to happen. Carlos Eduardo Espina, who's a big TikToker and Spanish news reporter, was talking about how important TikTok is to him because they need to be able to use that platform to warn people about factory raids, school raids, and things happening with immigration. Immigration will be terrible. He is looking into denaturalizing people. The point is cruelty. They will raid a school because there's a bunch of Hispanic kids in it to try and entrap the parents or terrorize people of a certain ethnic background. Terrorism is the point. We know he's starting in Chicago. We know New York and New Jersey will be affected, and Texas. Those are the first places that he has been pretty clear are going to be affected. And that's because he does not care about fucking with those people, even though the majority of migrant folks work in California on the farms, work on the corn farms of the Midwest. We're not hearing about him raiding those farms.
Or Florida.
Or Florida, because those are his supporters and whatever. Not to say it's not going to happen. It is going to happen. But the targeting and the terrorism will be focused on those areas.
Blue areas, mostly.
So you got to get your shit together. We have told my family members who are from Guatemala and are naturalized and are citizens now, print all your paperwork, put it in backpacks with your kids. Here is his citizenship, his birth certificate, his whatever, because have a copy of it at the principal's office. But unfortunately, you are going to have to teach your kids. They may have to show their papers, and that's very sad and scary, but we get them ready, right? We don't say, oh, it won't happen to me. We get those papers ready, we put them in their backpack, and we laminate them, and we make sure that they're there. When it comes to gay marriage, I know for a fact that they've been trying to overturn Obergefell. They definitely will this year. That's what I've heard, is that they're not going to overturning Obergefell is one thing, but they will redefine what qualifies as a federal marriage by, and you've heard Trump say this, there will only be two genders, male and female, and they will define federal marriage as between one man and one woman, meaning that if you are already married and you're two women, your marriage will no longer qualify for federal recognition. So they can never take away your marriage certificate. They can never take away the fact that you were married, but they can say that your federal rights, you no longer qualify for those federal rights because your marriage no longer meets the burden of proof for access to that federal right. So what do? 9 documents. And you can go to the Gay Lawyer on TikTok or prideplanning.com, I believe it is. And she has 9 documents to recreate the legal rights you get, the 1183 rights you get when you get married for gay couples. So I just went through this with my wife. It is setting up a revocable trust. It is setting up your HIPAA paperwork, pet contingency planning, all that kind of stuff. It's 9 documents. They're making it extremely affordable. This lawyer is doing it at cost for people and in a rush. So it's probably going to cost you maybe $2,000. It cost me more because we had other stuff to do, but it might cost you $1,000 to get those 9 documents done. But that's how you protect your marriage. We don't just think, oh, it won't happen to us. We get those 9 documents in place. Then even if your marriage doesn't federally qualify, you have a partnership that qualifies so that your property, your children, second parent adoption, your money, your business, anything is all protected by this partnership. Very Scrooge and Marley, if you will, to make it Christmassy. They were gay and you can't convince me that they didn't have a domestic partnership, okay?
Right.
But that's what we're setting up. Those are the things that I'm going to be talking about on Under the Dust News. Those are the things I'm sure Oz is going to be bringing you, because we could be scared or we could be prepared. And as soon as we know something that can help you, we're going to go ahead and let you know about that.
Absolutely.
It's about community. It's about doing things in person. To anybody who is trans or on hormones or whatever that's listening, you got to start getting into your local community. Before people were able to be open and access HRT through the medical system, they were making it, right? We were doing at home different things to ensure that we were meeting what our needs were as a community. And we will continue to do that. But you're not going to do that by making a Facebook group, right? Because that's going to put a target on you. You have to have in-person, offline community.
Yes.
And so that is what I urge people to do.
Very important.
And, you come here and I'll come on your show anytime you want with whatever I've got. You come on mine and we just hold it together. That's all we could do.
But we all have to stick together. We have to use our platforms the way that we can and educate and inform and give everybody all the information that they need and, keep on carrying on. It's scary that, in September, I left my job to do this. And it's like, oh, okay, fuck. Like,
I know.
Jesus, take the wheel at this point.
And I think at a minimum, we get to kick the can down the road on TikTok.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we get. Maybe we're just always scared they're going to take it away, but we got to stay in touch. If you're a creator listening, get your email lists together. Make sure that you have access to your community that's not platform based.
Grab a Substack. You can
Substack has been phenomenal.
Subscribe for free.
Yep.
You don't have to make it paid. Mine is pay. You can pay. You don't have to pay. Yeah. All I put out there, I make available for everybody because I feel like it's so important. Half the time, if you don't see my TikTok videos for the day, at the end of the day, there's a email with all the links.
Yep.
So, I do all the work for you.
See, Substack's great. I've loved Substack. It's going to be hard, but it doesn't mean that we can't get through it. And there are more good people than bad people out there. And there are people who will even be in this next administration who will act as covert harm reduction. Mm-hmm. I work with the DOD and the Pentagon. There is some Trump proofing that has happened over there. Regardless, Pete Hegseth is obviously a big threat to that because he just doesn't understand chain of command. But you don't have to be scary, jump off a bridge. Like that's not going to happen. Don't do that. Actually, we really do need you here.
We need all the help we can get.
We do. And there are people that are going to do harm reduction. And we've seen this throughout history. No matter what regime has come into power, they don't last long. Mm-hmm. They never do. The Confederacy lasted 4 years. Fascism under Stalin lasted 12 years. Like it's just not that long because the will of the people cannot actually be broken.
No. And we've had so many freedoms over the past, decade. Nobody now is going to, we've had this. Yeah. People aren't going to go back. They aren't going to give it up. They're going to
send
burn
Elon
it to the ground.
Back to South Africa.
I co-sign on that
There'll
one.
There'll be a rejection of a lot of these things. And, the way you do it is up to you. You don't have to do everything. Like I don't do food boycotts, which a lot of people get mad about, but I don't. That's not the way I show up. That's not the way I show up. I do something else. So when you're looking, sometimes activism can be exhausting because you're making a list of all the stuff you have to do and you feel like you've lost a whole bunch of new rights and you're like, oh my God, I'm even more restricted now. Only do the things that make sense for you. Everybody in collection.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have to do everything because somebody's doing something. So you pick which ones make sense to you. I've never done food boycotts because I grew up food insecure and doesn't sit right with my spirit to say, don't order from Pizza Hut when I know that they're doing 2 pizzas for $7. And to me and my mom back in the day, like that would have been really special. And that's one night that she wouldn't have had to cook, and we would have had like the special thing all the other kids had, right? So I never do food boycotts. You could be with me on the never food boycott train if you want. You won't be alone.
Yeah.
Some people, that's an easy thing for them to do, and they do that, but they don't research or read or create content. So you're going to do what makes sense for you. You do not have to do it all, and you can't do it all.
No, you can't be expected to, because it would be fucking exhausting.
Fuck off and read some books that Oz wrote. Like, read some like books that aren't even about
fantasy. I
tend to read stuff that's like, nonfiction all the time, and I'm like, I need to start reading like some stupid shit just to like have fun and an imagination and an escape. Read books, get offline.
I don't know. I heard great stuff about this fairy, and I don't know. There's like some smutty books with fairies and wizards.
Read the sex fairy books. Read the sex fairy books. I like I like those beach romance novels that you get at like the drugstore.
That's what I used to write.
Easy.
Go read one.
They're so easy to read, and they're enjoyable. I will. They're fun. Watch a Hallmark movie. I don't know.
Unplug.
Read a cookbook.
Make cookies. Make something.
Cookies.
Watch Elf. Like, I don't know.
Elf. But like, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to create time for yourself to just be different. I've created a routine for myself. I'm not like a super gym person, but I am gonna be one now, because I have to create time for myself where I cannot pick up the phone. So like, I have been going to the gym, and when I say going to the gym, very lightly, okay? Don't get crazy, okay? I'm built for comfort. I'm not built for speed. But like, that 1 hour that I'm in there, I do my little walking. I watch like whatever stupid cooking show is on. I do my little weightlifting, and I'm like, okay, I feel like, but if you create a routine for yourself, that's going to help you in a chaotic world to say every day at 9, I always do this.
That's where I've been in.
You have to
I left
do
my
that.
day job. It was actually a free fall for the first couple weeks, because I left, and then there was 2 hurricanes while I was in Africa. It was just a mess. And then I came back, and my house was destroyed again. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then I had to build a routine. It was just like, it was the worst way to start working for yourself ever.
It is. I made up stupid shit after lots of different traumas I've experienced. Like, after we lost my brother, I would schedule coloring time, because it doesn't matter what it is. You make up something, and you make it very important, and then you have a sense of accomplishment when it's over.
And I think that we still have a whole other episode that we need to do about the city of Shelton, Connecticut.
Oh yeah. Me and Oz survived this place called the Valley. Okay. You could survive anything. That was the craziest shit, because I remember when we first met and I was talking to you, I was like, we like know each other. And you were like, from Shelton. I'm like, from Shelton. Yeah. We had not met while we lived in the Valley. We lived in the Valley at different times, but going through that experience does make you.
We are from the same place. So when people are like, why are you this is what we're from the same place. Yeah.
The most blue collar of blue collar places.
It really was. It was
a good place to grow up, though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I would go back. Not to the Valley. I would go back to like Stratford.
Oh, Stratford was hot.
Well, that's where I grew up.
They had a train station.
Yeah.
So you could get out.
I was in Lordship. So I lived like, but we were only there because like my dad grew up there. So like his family was from there. So we were like the leftover blue collar people there before all the millionaires moved in from New York City.
Yep.
And just.
No, my dad worked at Sikorsky.
Yeah. Everybody did.
Everybody's dad worked at Boeing or Sikorsky. It was good. It was a good time.
My dad was a natural growth oyster farmer in Long Island Sound.
We love that.
Right?
See, these were the things you used to be able to do back when the world was safe in the 90s, back when Bill Clinton was president. It was a good time for everybody.
He came to the airport in Stratford. I went and saw him when I was a kid. My mom brought me, and now all she does is watch Fox News. So I don't know what the fuck happened there.
I don't know. They got pipelined somewhere.
It broke. Something broke.
We blame Paul Ryan. They were like, scared.
Yeah, I don't know. It was Rush Limbaugh or something. I don't know.
Oh, God. Fox News. Imus in the morning.
Oh,
WPLR. God. We're blaming WPLR is what did it to them.
Fucking Chaz and AJ in the morning.
They did it. They're the ones.
Oh, my God. fuck.
Chaz and
Anyway.
AJ gave my sister her engagement ring, by the way.
Really?
My brother-in-law wrote a letter for Valentine's Day like 8 years ago to win the whatever, and he won. And she got her engagement ring from Chaz and AJ. So fuck WPLR for red pilling our parents, but also thank you, Chaz and AJ, for my sister's engagement
My dad
ring.
used to call into the show all the time when he was out on the boat, so they knew who Indian Lou was.
See? I bet I'm going to call my dad after this and be like, do you know who Indian Lou is? And they'll be
I'm telling you, you'll probably know who he was. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on, and until next time, we'll do this again. And thank you everybody for tuning in, and give them all of your socials before we go.
Yeah. It's Under the Desk News on TikTok, Instagram. It's Under the Desk News on Substack, Blue Sky, Threads, all that stuff. It's Under the Desk News on YouTube, because somebody stole Under the Desk News and I refused to pay them for it because I won't do it.
Somebody did that to me with chasingoz.com. It's some old weird lady with a band who's like a QAnon. Somebody emailed me asking to interview me about my music. I was like, my what?
Okay, I had to buy underthedesknews.com. You could go there and find everything, but I had to buy it from this woman in Indiana who's a photographer who literally wrote a letter to my management when we finally reached out being like, I have a trademark on this. You need to give it to me. And I had to pay her like $3,000 or something. And she was like, I knew the first time I saw you that you were going to be successful, and I was surprised that you hadn't gotten the .com yet. So I've just been sitting on it for all these years, like waiting. I'm like,
fuck you,
you're
cunt.
a sicko. You're a sicko.
What an asshole.
Photographer in Indiana, Elizabeth.
I would love her name and information so that I could haze her on the internet. I hate people like that.
Me
fucking
too. Like, you're rotten, especially as a fan. I was like, ew.
That's gross. Fuck you, Elizabeth.
Fuck you, Elizabeth. And fuck you, Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah,
we're
fuck
out.
You, Nancy Pelosi.